been over a year now since Jamal Sutherland died at the Charleston County Detention Center. His mother, Amy Sutherland, still wants answers and justice for her son. I talked to her about that one-on-one for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook.
Miss Amy Sutherland, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back.
Oh, you're very welcome. I spoke with you Wednesday as I had to go drop off some marketing things for work, and obviously I stopped to talk with you, and I called you about an update on how you're doing. And in that conversation, you told me about the year hump after Jamal passed.
Yes, very, very hard.
How did you deal with that?
It was hard. I started crying again and started having like flashbacks. And because there was no resolve, I still feel like Jamal, I'm going to say, it feels like he's still dying. And I just can't stop going on of his thoughts because he meant a lot to us. And so that it's hard for me and my whole family.
How is the family?
Well, I got a son. I'm Jamal's youngest brother. He has missed. He missed more than half of the year of work. He went from looking very good to barely surviving. And so that it was hard. And my oldest son, he kind of just don't want to speak about it. He has not watched the tape, and he does not want to talk about Jamal a lot. So.
What is the biggest difference from when you saw the tape of your son basically dying to right now?
There is no difference because we still feel the exact same way. He was murdered. He was murdered publicly for everybody to see. And yet still, the solicitor says she's not going to charge anybody. And that still hurts, the same hurt. And I kept saying, I don't know if she has children, but I don't know how she could do that to somebody else's child. Because it was a murder on tape.
Is there anything missing from that tape still a year later?
Yeah, there's a part of that tape that's missing because Jamal said to Brian, in the murder part of it, he says, you're not going to do to me what you did to me before. And there's a captain that says that we know Jamal's going to be a problem because he was a problem earlier. And so if they had not done anything to Jamal, where's the tape from earlier that should show what Brian did to him and what the captain told them to do?
What did the captain told him to do to Jamal?
She told him to get him out and get him to bond, which is against his right. He does not have to pay at bond. So that I see that as just something that they've done and they continue to do. And I still say, if Jamal was not African American, he'd be alive. I still in my heart believe that. And I believe that Scholar would have charged somebody if Jamal was not African American. And nobody can tell me any difference. That's my belief.
And I know when you spoke with Raphael James over at Charity Missionary Baptist Church on East Montague, you said, hey, she has to have a purpose for not doing anything.
She does.
A year later, what is that purpose in your mind?
Only thing I can see her purpose was to keep things quiet in the state. I think that she knew that it would have been an uproar if America really knew what was going on in that jail. And some of it has come out, but there's a lot more in that jail that happened because the guy that she hired talks about how it was ran. And it was not a good place to be. And he said, I don't know how Jamal was the first person to die the way they were running that place.
How is that Charleston County Jail being ran right now?
Well, now I think that there's some changes. The sheriff has told me that she's put in place changes so that I pray that it will never happen again to anybody. But we will have to see the changes by their actions when they run across the same incident again. Are they going to make somebody go to court? Because really, there was a way that they never had to touch him. They had cameras in place before where they could have taken Jamal and interviewed him on camera, but they chose not to. People in charge chose not to use that same method that they had used for other people. And I know from inside, I don't know this about, I know from inside the jail that they had done it before.
And I knew that you told me that other people have actually died after your son died in the jail.
There was two people that we've heard about. We've heard about a black gentleman that died, and there was a white lady that died. And I don't know how they died, but I know that the first thing that came out was that they were found in their cells, which is the exact same word used when Jamal was murdered. We found him in his cell. You didn't find him anywhere. Y'all murdered him so that nobody had to look for him because you knew he was dead. So that comment is just horrible to say.
I know that they, according to you, didn't interview him on camera. Did they actually interview Jamal at all?
Nobody interviewed him. Jamal came into the center begging for help. Somebody help me. I need my medication. Can somebody help me? He says it more than once. There's a nurse, and her job was to help my son. She walked by him, she looked at him, and she turned his head. All the people working that night, not one person helped him. They pushed him in the cell, which I know they beat him up because they wouldn't even dress his clothes. And the next morning, nobody even questioned getting him help. That captain that was there, it was a female captain. She should have went in when things were that bad. She should have spoken to Jamal because he still wanted his medication and he still wanted to speak to somebody. And they made things harder. Instead of de-escalating, they escalated things. And it wasn't against him because he never got excited. My child never raised a hand. So that it was all what they were doing to him. And he asked him, is this how you treat the mentally ill? And nobody had the courage. There's an officer standing out. He doesn't even say, hold on, stop, let's see what's going on. That officer watched the murder of my child, along with all the other people. And what hurts me is that night when he comes in, and they're taking him in the back, there's two black gentlemen walking behind them. And if they saw and knew what was going on, to me, they had a responsibility. Some things you expect from certain people. Other people, you just don't expect that to happen. But they were all doing it. And everybody that crossed paths with him that night, they didn't know that Jamal was a special person. And there's a special person that they're going to answer to, because God's going to make them all answer to why they're doing this. Including the solicitor. If she don't know it, there's a higher power than her. And she's going to answer.
Going back to de-escalation, Sutherland, at any point, do you know why they didn't call you?
I have not the faintest idea, because when he was brought to jail, nobody even offered a call. My son says over and over, I know my rights. Nobody read me my rights. And in that jail, nobody said, hey, let's read this young man his rights. They were so used to violence that they were turning violent to him instead of reading his rights. But he knew. He was very intelligent. Mental illness doesn't take away the fact that my boy was gifted and very intelligent. So he was actually guiding them on their duties, and they didn't listen.
What else did they not listen to in the jail that night when they had this interaction with your son?
They didn't listen to him saying, I need medication. I haven't got my medication. I haven't got my medication. That's the biggest thing. The fact that they got him nobody to talk to. He knew what his state of mind was. He told me he needed to go because he needed help. And then when the coroner report comes back, the medication that the hospital said they were giving him wasn't in his system. And I want you to know they didn't even give him the medication that would have helped him. And he should have never been in jail.
Did you, Ms. Sutherland, ever find out who suggested at this facility, Palmetto Low Country Behavioral Health, to or the EMS to get Jamal to the detention center versus a hospital?
I will tell you, when Jamal, there's a fight going on, an altercation going on, this young man is calling his name. So he's hearing voices. No medication in his system. I know he's hearing voices because he left home hearing voices. There's a little white girl on the phone. Jamal is jumping across the desk, and she hollers to the 911 operator, Jamal's beating the hell out of everybody. That's what she said. Then they go outside. The policeman asks the ambulance driver. No supervisor was called. Nobody called the supervisor. Not the hospital, who should have spoken to the doctor, who involuntarily committed him less than 5-6 hours before they did all of this. He should have never been out that facility.
Did when this nurse allegedly accused your son of essentially assaulting people, which you know is false, did they look at the camera footage?
No. They didn't look at anything. Because first of all, now being that we all educated, she had no right to press charges. But the officers, not knowing their job, one of them tells another person that Jamal is a big, and the word begins with F. And then the other one is asking other people what he should do. He says, before he goes into the city, he tells this young lady, we can't go in there with our guns on. But him, his partner, both went into that facility. My son stood up and said, I need to go to sleep. I need my medication. He wasn't fighting. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't hollering. At that time, Jamal is sitting on a bench. If anybody had any sense, somebody would have said, can you get him his medication? He'll go to sleep. We can call his parents, or we can talk to him tomorrow morning. But they took him to jail instead. They said, because the ambulance driver told them, don't take him to the hospital, take him to jail. When he got to that jail, they should have said, don't bring us the sick man because he's sick. But they didn't have enough intelligence to know. They shouldn't be taking him in. He wasn't violent. So I can't understand why they took him to the spot for violent criminals. There was no violence in him.
And did you ever have a conversation with someone with the EMS officials to see if that's actual protocol with dealing with mental health patients?
I never spoke to them. But I'll tell you one thing I know.
Yes, ma'am.
EMS driver is not a doctor. And a doctor makes those decisions. There was no doctor on that ambulance team. There was a young man, and if they knew what they were doing, he would have said, y'all need to call somebody who knows what they're talking about. I don't have the authority to do. But everybody took authority upon themselves. The policeman took authority when they listened to somebody that didn't have any claims and anything against him. And they listened to her, and they took my child to his deathbed. That young lady sent Jamal to his murder. And every time I see her, I will say she sent Jamal to his murder. And all those other people in that hospital, not one person said one word. Nobody. She said, get him out of here. And I know what protocol she follows, but I've never heard a nurse say, get him out of here. He's mentally ill. What are you talking about? That's why black people are afraid to go to the doctors now. Mental illness is in our schools and everywhere else. But ain't nobody taking their children to no doctors. They paralyze them, give them medicine to make them sick. And sometimes I regret that I even let Jamal go to that hospital. I regret it with all my heart. I felt responsible because I took him there. But he said he needed to go. And so we got him out.
And I know that you told me over the phone just the other day that he thought palliative behavioral mental health was going to kill him.
He did. The last conversation we had, I called that facility the day that they sent him to the hospital. And I called that facility on 4 different occasions. I'm his mom. He gave me power of attorney to do everything for him. And there's a white old lady that works at the front desk, and she said, I'm not going to let you talk to him. So I said, can I speak to his doctor? And she said, no, you're not going to speak to his doctor. And Jamal called, and he said, Mom, he said, they're getting ready to murder me. I said, Jamal, give me your code. He said, Mom, you're listening. He said, they're going to murder me in here. He believed it, and I believed it too. He was terrified that he was going to be murdered.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, they didn't give him his medication. They were causing him so much problems. But that was a big thing for me. Really cheating him.
Were you able to talk to this lady's supervisor?
No, I have not spoken to anybody at that health facility. I went to get his clothes, and they had a lady that came, and she said, "We're so sorry." She was a safety officer. I said, "You are sorry. You're not sorry for my child's death. You're just sorry when it comes to your job." Her job was to make sure that people weren't treated that way as the safety officer. So to me, she was sorry, but not for my child's death. She was sorry because they're getting ready to get sued.
Are you going to sue them?
Oh, yes. Yes, we are. Because had not they done what they did, he would have never been out that building. They didn't medicate him. They didn't take care of him. They didn't treat him. And they had him in fear of being murdered there. So they are going to be sued.
And when did he realize that he unfortunately would have been murdered?
When Jamal left home, he said, "Mom, you will never see me again." My son said, "Mom, make sure you tell everybody it's a murder. It's going to be a murder, Mom." He said, "Fight for me." And Miss Scarlett might not know, but Jamal's death words to me, "Fight for me," those are going to be with me forever. But they were all wrong. He said it was going to be a murder. He gets to the jail, he said, "Somebody's going to murder me." And in 10 hours, he was dead. So you can bank on the fact that he was somebody special. And I keep telling him, not that child. You touched the wrong child. Because he was my child, and he was a child of God. And God's not pleased. He's not pleased with what they've done. And I said to everybody and anybody, if you even saw Jamal and saw something happen, you're going to pay for it. Not for me, but you're going to pay. And you're going to pay for every black, white, Mexican, Spanish, anybody that you've done that to, you're going to pay for it. It comes back. And it comes back sometimes to your children. So everybody's going to reap what you sow. That's the word. You're going to reap what you sow.
And speaking of the solicitor, you basically told Raphael in the interview that you did over at the church back in January that Scarlett Wilson is not a judge nor the jury. What do you think she's trying to be?
I think she's trying to be everything. I think that she thinks that she has control over the lives of African Americans. I read that there was other racist complaints against her. And I've also known that nothing has ever been done. So if you let somebody with that attitude continually do things, then you're part of the problem also. We spoke to Mr. Wilson in Columbia.
Right.
And I said to him, she was unfair. She was rude. And he said, "No, she's not." And I said, "Yes, she is." And I said it about 3 times. So that every time he would say that she wasn't rude to him. Because you're not a black man. You're of her same race. So there is no reason to be racist against you. But she was racist to every black man that she probably got her runs into. If she touched him, they're doomed to not ever get justice. And I don't see the justice coming out of anything. I want her to tell me one case where she was just to a black person. Just one case where she did justice when a white person hurt a black person. Because so far nobody has known of any.
Did you ask Alan Wilson why SLED took allegedly 5 months with the video to make their decision?
I don't think Mr. Wilson could answer that, but I asked Mr. Wilson why it took him so long to answer us, and he said that there was a mix-up in the system. But I asked that question. I told him that SLED was no good. SLED is racist to me. The things they're doing is always against the black. SLED has never, ever done anything to help my child. Nothing. I asked him about his case.
Right.
We don't need to talk to you. I said, you don't know Jamal's side. We don't need to talk to you. We only want to talk to the people at the jail. That said to me, you don't want to talk to the black mom. You want to talk to the people who did it. And that's how we cover things out. SLED said somebody's going to do it. Scholars said, no, they can do it. They all have the ability. None of them took on the right rules that they were supposed to play it in that crime. It's a crime.
When did SLED talk to the folks at the jail?
I know the next day, they probably were there that day, but the next day, Scarlett had decided that she wasn't going to charge anybody. And they talk about they did an investigation. There was no investigation into anything. SLED spoke to the murderers. If you see the SLED tape, which I have in my possession, SLED is telling them everything that they said wrong and what they were supposed to say correct. SLED is doing that on tape. And if anybody wants to see it, I got it. That was not their job.
What did they say correct and what did they say wrong?
Some of the correct things was that Lindsay said that Jamal had a fork and that she had made the fork into a knife. And the SLED officer said, that's not true. Now, he did say that. He said that's not true. He said that Jamal was fighting them. He said, I didn't see him fighting. And so that those were two of the reasons that should have been some kind of thing. Why are you saying this man has a weapon? Was that your excuse? But Lindsay also told them that she turned her taser as high as she can get it. Lindsay said she didn't know how many times she tased Jamal. What is she doing in a job where she's doing things that she doesn't know what she's doing? She said she didn't know what the correct amount of tasing was. Brian Hall answered the questions. Lindsay Fickett lied the whole entire time. She lied about everything that she had done.
Did Brian lie or did he tell the truth the entire time?
He lied. When he comes out the cell and he goes to the same female supervisor that told him to go and get Jamal, she said, go get she said, Jamal's going to be a problem. We know from what he did before. Jamal says, Brian. And he doesn't know his name. He said, you're not going to do to me what you did before. I'd like to see that piece of tape. I'd like that tape to be provided. Because if you don't provide that, then you're covering up his murder. And they're covering up his murder by keeping the key piece of evidence away. They're keeping that away from us. And we deserve to see what Brian did to him. Why did he have sheets on his bench before they even supposedly went in for the first time? That's why we knew something happened.
What is it true from the sources that I heard that allegedly the governor told the sheriff not to release the tape?
Now, I haven't heard that. What I've heard is that when you're talking about the governor and sheriff, I've heard that he saw that tape from the beginning.
No.
I heard that he saw that tape from the beginning and he knew exactly what happened to Jamal. And so when he calls and says, Miss Sutherland, I'm so sorry for what happened to my son. It's hard to believe. Because he didn't call and say, Miss Sutherland, I saw what happened to Jamal. And I need to have it investigated. From the beginning, day 2, 3, he could have called me. He waited months later. But they said he knew exactly what was on that tape. Scarlett had made everybody in charge aware. So that none of them would tell me that they didn't know. Because all of them knew. The entire chain. And I call it the traditional chain. I call it the politician chain. Every white man knew what happened to my black son and kept it away from me. We never ever told anybody. Day one we wanted to see that tape. But we were told that we couldn't see it. And then I heard that that wasn't the truth. I heard that my attorney kept the tape away from us. And I know he saw that tape a month before we did. That's one thing we do know. A month before we saw that tape, he knew. And he took us 5 times to speak with Scarlett. And every time she said the same thing. I don't know why you were there, because we didn't said we were going to tell you anything. So to me, that was playing games. And you emotionally tore us up playing those games. But they did it over and over and over. Nobody ever said anything because it was all a lie. I think it was a setup. That's what make me think we're going to say something. Gotta calm her down. But we would never calm down.
Yeah, and is Mark Pepper still your lawyer?
No, he's not my lawyer. Mark Pepper is not my lawyer. And he knows why he's not my lawyer. But he's no longer my lawyer.
And I know that you got a settlement from, Charleston County and other agencies altogether. Knowing now that you don't have justice, unfortunately, Ms. Sutherland, would you have taken that $10 million?
If I knew what I knew, they could have kept the money. If somebody could have gone to jail, I would give them the money back. If justice could have been done for my son, and you don't give me a dime, you could have had it. You could have had that money. All we wanted was the truth. But because they murdered him, and they did the things they did to him, to me, they were trying to shut us up. But what they didn't know is that we weren't ever poor, so money didn't mean that much to me. We never in our life had lights or anything else turned off. We were never poor. So that you could have kept your money, because we were living just fine. Jamal got everything he wanted. And he always got what he wanted. So we didn't need to have that money to make us happy, so that if I could have gotten justice, they could have kept every dime. I wouldn't want a penny from the state, or from Charleston County, or from anybody, if I thought that there was a chance of them helping. If they gave me some kind of, even an inkling of, hey, we might do the right thing if we don't pay you, they keep your money. Keep your money. Because I tell everybody, I've not bought a purse or a pair of shoes with that money. I've given a lot of it away. But that's the people who really needed it. But that money didn't mean that much. Because if it did by now, we would have done a lot of things different. No vacations, no trips, no nothing.
What does justice look like now for you? What do you want? I know it's a simple question, but what do you want?
I want the people who murdered him, I want them in jail. The female captain that gave the order, she needs to be fired. The white lieutenant that stood and watched his death, he needs to be fired. The police officers that went in that night, they need to be fired. The lady that told the first lie, she needs to be fired. To me, I would charge her. I would charge her because she started the entire crime. Had not she lied on Jamal, it wouldn't have happened. I want an apology from the mayor of North Charleston, who's not apologized. My son's dead, and he goes, this is what caused Jamal to be in jail. He was a liar. Jamal wasn't beating the hell out of nobody. That was all a lie. And he has yet to come and apologize. Christians, everybody's Christian, but ain't nobody doing the Christ-like thing. I'd like to see him. I'd like him to apologize for what he said about Jamal. Not only to my family, but do it on national TV, like you did when you said, this is what he did. Because he didn't do anything like that. He should have never been in anybody's jail. But everybody was trying to cover themselves. So he was a part of the cover-up himself. When all he had to say is, my men took him to jail. I'm not sure what happened. Because I was told that even the person in charge, he said he didn't know what happened for 4 or 5 days. And you tell me how you run a police department and they don't tell you what happened for 4 or 5 days. That's a broken system. But that's what he told us. Nobody told me for 4 or 5 days. I didn't know it was my men that got him out. And somebody said to me, who else would have got him out? If he was in the city of North Charleston, and the crime they said was committed in North Charleston, he knew North Charleston had to get him out. And I didn't think about it when I first heard it. But when somebody as simple as my son said, you, they all knew.
Amy Sutherland, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
I thank you so much for wanting to hear the truth and allowing me to tell the truth. I'm not lying on anybody. It's all truth. So I thank you so very much.
You're very welcome anytime.